three. 1, 2, 3. Let's go.
All right, everybody, welcome to a continued auction edition of Teaching Crypto. This is AZcrypto and MrFOMO. MrFOMO, we keep waiting, and that's okay for me. I'd rather this take as long as possible, get the most value for the customers. Yeah, thank you, Brian, for joining us. The 50 million is a bit misleading. So if you guys can see on your screen, the $50 million was supposedly by CoinDesk and a lot of other aggregates picked it up. We're not sure exactly what that means, because that doesn't mean that they're getting everything, I believe, including all the assets for 50 million. Because the Voyager has more than 50 million worth of assets. So I think that's a little misleading. I think they could have done a much better job when they wrote that article of kind of explaining, is it 50 million over the assets that are owed? Exactly. No problem, Bernie. We're here to try to help people understand what's going on. I'm not sure, MrFOMO, exactly what they meant by this. Maybe there'll be some more clarification, but I would venture to say 50 million doesn't cover everything here.
They mentioned in the article that 50 million the 50 million is for the assets, but again, there's well over that that we know of in crypto assets. But later in the article, they also mentioned that FTX came up with an offer earlier in the process that was considered to be a lowball offer. We know that that offer was almost 2 billion. So, I'm not sure if the numbers here are really correct. Brian also pointed out that's got to be wrong. We'll have to wait and see. We may not hear, any solid news out of this until the end of the month, really. And it may get pushed back even a little bit further now that this auction has gone longer. Well, I actually expected to have it done by now, and I'm honestly getting a little bit frustrated with how this is carrying out. But I know that this is moving a lot faster than other bankruptcy processes, so I have to temper my frustration with that.
Yeah, I think I just want them to get it right as possible. We'll talk about this a little bit later, but the idea,
getting it right is better than getting it done now.
I don't think everyone's going to get exactly what they want. Hopefully we get as whole as humanly possible, whether that's 100, 95%, 90, 85. We don't know. We don't want to speculate. We know they have to beat the 72. That was the staking horse. That's, the minimum they have to beat. Interestingly enough tonight, MrFOMO, and I think hopefully this is a coincidence, but the UCC Twitter account was temporarily taken off Twitter, suspended. Now, we don't know if it was attacked by bots, what happened. There has been some hostility from a few people in terms of blaming the UCC for not valuing Voyager token. And I think it's important for us to clarify a couple things. The UCC is not in complete control here of what's going on. You've got the bidders, you've got the judge, and you've got Voyager. Yes, the UCC does have a say, but they can't demand, hey, Binance, hey, FTX, you guys need to go ahead and have a huge plan for the VLP, just like Steve did. Just unfortunately, that's just not the way it's going to work. I would love it. I have a lot of VGX. I would love for there to be another VLP, but you got to remember, guys, we're in bankruptcy. Let's try to keep it real here. And the old saying is, sometimes you're just not in a position to man the moon. And in the crypto, they use the word moon a lot. We're not in that position. Right now, we're trying to survive and get as much back as we can. I think it's great that FTX and Binance are interested. Those are huge players that can hopefully make us as whole as possible. But to assume that they're going to have a concrete 100% plan for VGX as part of this, it would be great. But, I don't think the committee can force them to do that. And I think that's a misnomer that's going on. First of all, we don't know anything. We don't know And Lucy, we speculated about that earlier. We don't think the article is correct. We really think the article is misguided in that 50 million. We don't know if it's 50 million over all the asset numbers that are owed. So they would be paying for the assets, and on top of that, paying 50 million and getting the software and all the other things that come with Voyager. We're not sure. We're not, but I don't think the 50 million for everything is accurate. Yeah. But again, VGX token, before we scream and yell at the committee, I think it's important to understand that they don't have full control here.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, I understand the animosity. I really do. I'm frustrated myself because we've said all along that the ideal buyer for this company was going to be a buyer that had a plan for VGX, that was going
Absolutely.
to take the platform and the token and use it the way that it was intended by Voyager. But you just can't reach into a business and tell them how to do things. They are they are saving us through this bankruptcy process essentially, and all we can really hope for is to be made as whole as possible. I get the animosity, but to direct it at the UCC the way that it is, I think it's just misguided.
Yeah, and I saw something about a petition, trying to get a petition to the judge at this late 11th hour to get a new UCC. Guys, let's be realistic here. The judge right now is trying to get Voyager out of bankruptcy. And so, this has been going on for months. And so I think some of the anger is a bit misguided. I'm angry too. I'm angry we're in bankruptcy. I'm angry we haven't had our funds for a long time. But hey, what are we going to do about it? We want to take the best offer possible that's going to get as much people their crypto back as much as possible. And hopefully that includes VGX. Maybe there's a swap with another token. We just don't know. There's a lot we don't know.
I'm going to throw Kamikaze's question back up here. What do you think will happen to the stock? That is a great question. To me, I think that there's going to be some sort of swap. You'll get some sort of, depending on who it is, but hopefully there's some sort of swap and stockholders are made whole.
Unfortunately,
that's going to be separate from the crypto action.
Yeah, unfortunately, Mr. FOMO, the stockholders are kind of last in line, and the old stock is worthless. So it is possible that a new company arises and they get stocks.
You would have to hope for something that was publicly traded. Otherwise, they'd have to give you a token in that place, or they'd have to pay you the value somehow. And I just don't see a lot of that happening.
But listen, unfortunately, with the stock, if FTX or Binance is the buyer, unfortunately, your stock is really worthless at that point. It is what it is. A lot of people have said it. We're not trying to be over dramatic, but stockholders are the big losers here, most likely, not for sure. But if FTX and Binance take over, there's no reason for them to issue stocks. It is what it is. They're taking over the assets. They're going to be more concerned with getting people back as much crypto as possible and trying to retain customers. Stockholders, unfortunately, are going to be left holding the bag. It sucks, but unfortunately, it is what it is here. I think they can pump VGX. So, Lucy, it's interesting. VGX has been pumped a couple times to $1 in this process. The issue is, unless there is a plan and a utility with VGX, when the platform, however name it takes, whether it's part of Binance or whether it's part of FTX, unless there's a plan for VGX, it can't sustain any. Yeah, the 50 million keeps coming up, Joe. We talked about that earlier. We don't think it's correct. But listen,
well,
Lucy,
I think what
I just
Lucy
want to say
was,
one thing. I want to say something. Unless there's a VLP or a program for the coin, unfortunately, it can't sustain a high price. Just a reality.
Well, the point that was being made there is if the company retains VGX, has a plan for it, and they pump VGX, then they can make the money back that they paid for VGX or for the company. I think was the point there. And to me, and I agree there, I think that there's so much utility there with that token and opportunity, just like Lucy pointed out, there's an opportunity there to make money off of the token. So there's still hope, not tons of hope, but there's still hope that VGX will come out of this.
Yeah, I like Bernie, the Burger King without the Whopper. Listen, though, we don't know what this new Voyager is going to look like. I'm just saying right now, the two biggest names that keep getting mentioned, and these are leaked reports. Supposedly they're not supposed to be leaked. So we don't know 100% if this is accurate, but supposedly the two big names are the leaders, Binance and FTX. Problem with Binance is regulation. Now, with Binance and FTX, they could use the software and use the tokens and just call it, instead of calling it Voyager, rename the app, Binance Digital, a new different version of Binance America. FTX could call it something else because they could kind of take Voyager software and call it FTX US. I think there's a place for VGX with FTX because the FTT token is not traded in the US, but Sam has to value that. And we don't know right now the offers on the table. I think it's important to understand the UCC can't come out and say, here are the offers. They're not allowed to do that. Binance is not going to come out and do it. Steve is not going to come out and do it. None of the Voyager board is going to come out and do it. So we've got these quote unquote rumors that are flying about VGX, whether it is or not valued in these proposals. We just don't know what the truth is. And until we get clarity, we can get upset as much as we want, but I don't know what good it does, to be honest with you, because right now, who is in control? It's the judge. It's probably FTX, probably Binance, and the legal team from Voyager. And the UCC can, object and try to bring up objections. But the reality is, remember what their job is. Their job is to try to get us as much of our crypto back as possible. We are in bankruptcy. Now, if we were not in bankruptcy and these guys were bidding, this would be a completely different situation. Now you can demand you guys have to have a plan for VGX. We're unfortunately just not in that situation.
I think even then you wouldn't have much of a demand in that respect.
You'd have a lot more control though, right? Because you wouldn't have to sell. Auction versus being.
Well, I think Voyager would have a lot more control in that respect. Yes. But yeah, I think the customers would still be out of control. You also sent me something earlier today that made it look like FTX and Voyager were cleaning up the books to get this thing finalized, and we couldn't really figure out if that. Joe wants to know if we favor Binance or FTX, but we couldn't really figure out what the purpose of that was, other than just cleaning up the books. I'd like to think that meant that, they were just cleaning up the books so that this can finally be done and over with. But, our guess is as good as yours in that respect. But it does look like they're cleaning up the books, and it had a lot to do with FTX. So it gave the impression that FTX was leading the way, but it was a lot of conjecture.
Well, it's a good sign. 200 million back in the books. I mean, anytime you can retain value and money, that's a good thing. So it's a positive for me. Whether it means FTX is the leader or not, we don't know. Now, I want to say something about Binance. I would love a Binance purchase, and here's why. Binance US is technically, I don't know if you guys know this, I think we talked about this on the show, not completely Binance. It's not. It's Binance US kind of pays to use that name. So this would give Binance a true foot into the U.S. crypto space. Now, the leaks have come out that regulation is kind of standing in the way. We don't know if it's true, but we know there's been too much fire. We know that Binance is in this. Can they win the bid? I don't know. And the reason I favor Binance is I've used the BNB token before. I've briefly used Binance US, and I've seen what that thing does for that ecosystem.
So what you're saying is you've seen the utility that they have for BNB, and you'd hope that they would retain that utility. For me, I said we still haven't talked about Waves Financial and the idea that another, you mentioned that where there's smoke, there's fire, and Binance and FTX have been mentioned, but Waves Financial has also been mentioned there. And for me, I would prefer to see a company come in that doesn't have a platform, that doesn't have a token, that would be willing to use this as more of a turnkey business where they can take over the platform, they can take over the token, and then give it utility and, sort of take off and just be their own Voyager. Now, would that build the confidence in the customers that were already there and the customers that were potential customers? Probably not. Waves Financial is not a big
My
name.
fear with Waves is it's an unknown name. I think you would have unless they came out and did a great media blitz, and
right, and that's what I was saying.
Is on the Twitter Spaces, shows like this, and told people here's why you should stay. I think unfortunately a lot of people would run. Whereas
that's what I was saying is customer retention would be a little bit harder with a name that was less known in the space. But for me, to me, just looking at the situation, I think that them, not having a token, not having a platform, it makes it, they just rename the token and move forward. That would be a lot better, because then my token has value. Maybe they also use the BLP, and then it's the WLP or whatever, but maybe they do something like that. And then it retains what it was with VGX, just as another company. To me, that's the best case scenario. But like you said, that's not going to build a lot of confidence in the customers who are remaining and then potential customers down the road.
By the way, thank you, Bernie. Please, guys, hit that like button. Please share. Get us some subscribers. Hit subscribe if you haven't done so. Most of you probably have. We would love it, guys, because we're trying to get to that 400 and that 500. We got day jobs as teachers, so any help you could give us for our show would be greatly appreciated. We're going to try to push this thing to 1,000 subs as soon as we can. We want to end on this. It's 9:54, and as of right now, we don't have a resolution. Yeah, BNB swap wouldn't be the worst thing in the row. I mean, ideally, someone would come over and have a plan for VGX, but we just don't know. Yeah, Lucy, I think they're trying to get all of the I's dotted and the T's crossed, because there's a lot to work out with a merger and a buyer in terms of who's staying, who's not. What are the withdrawal situations going to look like when they come back? Remember, the judge has to sign off on this thing, and his duty is to try to get Voyager out of bankruptcy, whatever it's called when they come out, and make sure that as many people are happy as possible. Not everyone's going to be happy, and whoever takes over, hopefully this thing opens up in January. It doesn't go back into bankruptcy because of a rush on withdrawal. So there are a lot of technical issues to BTC can go down. I just don't know right now if Voyager's doing a lot of buying. I think right now they're trying to execute this auction and see if they can make the customers as happy as possible. I do believe, even though Steve made a horrible mistake, he would really sleep much easier if we, the customers, got as much back as we could. Mr. FOMO, any closing statements before we leave everybody?
Well, you mentioned something to me earlier this weekend, and I think you should probably talk to the fans about it. But I want you to talk about MOJO real quick before we go. But before you do that, I'm going to talk about there's an app you can download called Club Bitcoin Solitaire. And if you like Solitaire, you can earn Satoshis by playing Solitaire on Club Bitcoin Solitaire. I've actually been doing it over the last couple of hours and earned 5 Satoshis already. Nice. So it doesn't earn you a ton for playing Solitaire, but if you're going to play Solitaire already, you might as well earn some Satoshis for it. But tell them about MOJO a little bit. I think
we'll do a full episode on MOJO. If you like crypto and you like sports, you can now buy players as if they're crypto coins or stocks on MOJO and buy and sell during plays, during games. So if you're a sports fan, and right now we are in a bear market, but by the way, in about a week, we're going to do a 3 coins you do not want to miss during the bear. So we'll do more than Voyager. We're doing a lot of Voyager because obviously it's in the news, but we're so much more than that. Trust us, guys. Go back and look at our old episodes. But, if you are a sports fan and you love crypto, this to me is kind of a nice marriage because the action is really fast. You're not holding on to these quote players, whatever you want to call them, their tokens. You're not holding on for weeks and months. You literally could be holding on for hours. So, you could make 10% within minutes of a play of a game, a touchdown. You could sell. So we'll do a MOJO episode for our viewers. We're trying to make you guys as much money as we can, entertainment purposes only, during the bear. But remember, there will be a bull market. So if you stay with us and you watch these shows, you're going to be in great shape.
there's still some buy the rumor, sell the news action out there that can still be had. Cardano coming up later this week. You've got I think Algorand, Solana. There's a ton of updates out there. ETH stole the news earlier, and we told you there would be a buy the rumor, sell the news with them. They may even go all the way back down below 1,000. But you've even got the reason Atom is pumping so hard now is you've got a Cosmos 2.0 coming out at some point. So there's a lot to talk about in crypto outside of Voyager. So I'm kind of excited that we're going to kind of move outside of this a little bit. We'll still keep you updated on that, but I think there's still a lot more to talk about.
Yeah. For Mr. FOMO, this is AZcrypto. Have a great evening. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Please hit that subscribe button.
We will see you next time.